Dave Ramsey says that $100 invested every single month from 25 to 65 is going to make you $1.2 million. The problem is financial advisors saying he's lying, and what's crazy is they're both kind of right. So here's how the math actually works. What Dave Ramsey has publicly said is that the S&P 500 has averaged a 12% return from 1926 until today. Now, the S&P 500 has not even been around that long, but if you look at its predecessors and what the S&P 500 really is, that is pretty close. The S&P 500 or its predecessors' returns, dividends, everything over the last 100 years has averaged like an 11.5 to 12% return, and so he's not that far off. The problem with those numbers, though, is that's assuming that no inflation happened for the last 100 years, and we all know that is completely wrong. Real inflation is somewhere around probably 2.5 to 3% over the same time frame, and so instead of an 11.5% return, you're actually looking at somewhere between an 8.5 and a 9% return when you adjust for inflation. Now, the difference, you think those 2% isn't going to make a big difference, but a 12% return, you're at $1.2 million. Inflation adjusted, it's now worth only $650,000, or almost half of what Dave Ramsey is saying. Now, in 40 years from now, you can pull out $650,000 worth of money at that time, which is incredible. No one's going to bat an eye at that. But I don't think any of us are going to be able to live on $650,000 through all of retirement. I don't agree with some of what Dave Ramsey teaches, but what he's saying here is directionally correct. A Roth IRA for an average person putting $100 in a month is going to create wealth in retirement that you wouldn't have had before. If you can start in your 20s or 30s, it can turn into hundreds of thousands and sometimes even millions of dollars depending on how much you invest. Where I disagree, though, is that percentage of 12% is never going to be achieved long-term in the S&P 500. If you want to get to 12, 13, 14%, you're going to have to start investing in alternative assets, things like venture capital, private equity, and real estate. Most of you don't think you can do that. I promise you can. You just haven't been taught how. You need to start researching how to do that because those can pull your returns to what Dave Ramsey is talking about or even above that. If you're looking for more ways to grow your net worth, follow me.